Hi, this is Scott. Welcome back to another Hollinger Team video blog. This one is our third quarter of the year 2022. And we'll start out with just kind of an overall recap of the activity for homes and vacant land in Flathead Lake County together, the Flathead Valley area here. From the first slide, you can see there's been a pretty good decline in the number of sales this year on homes, about a 30% drop. And if you look at land, even more so, a 50% drop. It's probably a little bit of combination of a handful of things, but certainly it's for lack of properties for sale is a big factor. There's just very, very little for sale compared with previous years. Flathead Lake homes, we've got two categories that we did for Flathead Lake as far as year to date, which is the lower number on the slide, and then the activity for the third quarter. And that's kind of interesting. Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. But first off, you can see there's been a pretty healthy drop in the number of sales in the third quarter of this year. 15 sold. There's still active, 15 active sales or active listings. So really only a quarter's worth of homes available for sale. And there's 6 pending. So basically 50% of that is under contract or close to a third. If you look at the year to date, you can still see there's pretty healthy decline. But the other thing that I think is kind of interesting is if you look at the year to date for sold this year, there's 31 that have sold so far this year, 15 in the third quarter. So half of the year was done in the third quarter of this year. And that's one of those things that I like to pass on to people is that once Labor Day hits, it isn't lights out. Things still do carry on. On the Flathead Lake condo side, a huge drop in the number of transactions, but again, if you look, there's only 9 active listings. For a long time, we hovered in the 20 and 30 active listings for condominiums. So it's just hard to have sales if there's nothing for sale, and the prices still are remaining quite strong. On the year-to-date side, there's been 24 condominiums sold so far this year, which then reflects back to number of active sales right now, and it's very, very little for sale. 39 sold the year before, and that's when there was a few more for sale then. We'll just see how the year ends up there. It'll be the fourth quarter of the year-end report will be really interesting for some of this stuff. Flathead Lake land, that's where we've seen some inventory pick up, and so we've got 18 vacant properties for sale. Only 2 have sold in this last quarter, but 12 so far this year. So again, roughly about a year's supply worth of vacant land for sale. Last year there was 9 sold and in the quarter and 19 in the whole year. So about an even split between quarters. I'm sorry, about half of the sales were done in the third quarter last year. Like we've seen is pretty commonplace to have a lot of activity in that third quarter. Now on to the other lakes. Echo Lake has 2 homes for sale right now. There's been 1 sold this year, 5 last year. Very, very few homes came for sale this year. There's 2 pending, and so we know for sure we'll have at least three sold by the end of the year. Vacant land is kind of just not very exciting. Just one of these is 1 sold and 1 for sale and 1 pending, and kind of the same reflective of last year. Now, if we go up to Lake Blaine. First off, let's just talk about the land there. There's nothing for sale and nothing's been sold, so not really anything too exciting to say there other than certainly if something had come up for sale, it would be probably have shown up in the sold column. Homes, there's nothing for sale, and the one and only one that was for sale has sold on this year, and last year there were 3, and no pending sales. So hard to get excited about no news, other than to say it's pretty interesting to watch when there's nothing for sale, just to see kind of what happens. On to Swan Lake. Pretty steady on Swan as far as the sale this year compared to last year in the third quarter. There's 2 active listings right now, nothing pending. So some activity. If you look at land, nothing for sale. There's nothing pending, and no vacant land is sold this year, and it's strictly because there's been virtually nothing for sale. Last year there was 2 sold, so again, that's just reflective. If we look at Swan River, again, 1 sold home this year. There's 1 for sale. There's 3 pending, so it shows that more came on the market and are going to close probably by the end of the year. So that number for Swan River for 2022 will probably be larger than 21. Sometimes that's just a reflection of not being able to find something on the lake, and people then settle for a place on the river. On vacant land side, same number of homes, vacant number of lots have sold in the quarter, both last year and this year. 2 lots for sale on the river, and no pending. So we'll see if those go away by the end of the year, and we end up with nothing for sale for vacant land on Swan River. Now, when we go out west of Kalispell to the 3 lakes, we'll start with Ashley Lake. 2 homes have sold on Ashley compared with 3 last year, so it's hard to say a trend when you've got such small numbers, and that's why we didn't even bother with the quarterly numbers, because they just don't amount to anything. We'd be just looking at lots of zeros. 1 home for sale out on Ashley, nothing pending, so slim pickings, and we'll see if maybe that goes under contract by the end of the year. Vacant land has seen some pretty good activity on Swan. We sold 2 of the 4 this year out there, and there were 2 sold last year. Nothing for sale right now, and nothing pending. But Ashley remains, I know just from the inquiries, in high demand. And when there's nothing for sale, it just kind of, multiplies, because those that are buyers that would buy and make room for other buyers coming in, we just end up with more and more buyers waiting for properties to come up for sale. Same is true for all the lakes. Bitterroot Lake, 4 homes sold this quarter, 4 homes sold the third quarter of last year also, so pretty steady there. 1 home for sale and 1 pending, so we'll end up with probably a half a dozen homes, maybe half a dozen homes that will close on Bitterroot. No land sales on Bitterroot this year. There's 2 for sale, and but nothing pending. Those are fairly large tracts, and they're fairly expensive, so that probably explains why they're staying in the active column, at least for now. And there was only 1 that sold last year, so not a real lot of activity in vacant land on Bitterroot. McGregor, 3 homes, which is more than last year, but still not enough to say there's a trend of any type. There's only 1 for sale there, nothing pending. Vacant land, solid goose eggs. McGregor went for a number of years where it was kind of the redheaded stepchild, and had a lot of properties for sale and limited transactions, and Ashley and Bitterroot were getting all the glory. But it looks like, it's at least evened up, or maybe flipped a little bit. If we come back to towards Kalispell, we've got Foys Lake, and Foys has had some residential sale this year. There's 1 for sale, a nice home on the lake there. 2 sold last year, nothing pending on land or homes, and for that matter, nothing for sale in homes, and no sales so far this year on Foys Lake. We go southwest to Lake Mary Ronan. Sometimes this is a really hot bed of sales because it's a great fishing lake and certainly kind of off the beaten path for people. No homes have sold this year, and there's only one for sale. 2 sold last year, and no pendings on land or homes. And the number of vacant properties for sale, there aren't any. So no sales to report for the third quarter. Last year had 2, so there was some properties that came up and sold. And then last but not least, going up north to Whitefish Lake. Interesting numbers there. About half as many transactions this quarter as opposed to the quarter last year. There's only 3 for sale, so it's going to be hard to catch up with last year's sales. There is 1 pending, but I think it'll still lag behind, and it's strictly because and the land side of it's reflective also. There's just very little to nothing for sale. Wish we had something profound to say about all this, other than we will continue to see these kind of numbers when we have just very little property for sale, not only on the lakes but off the lakes. And the same is true if you look beyond the Flathead Valley, even into Montana and beyond Montana. I think the entire country is seeing the same kind of trending where there's just very little for sale and still a lot of pent-up demand, people that need housing, and it will be interesting to watch how that kind of reshapes itself in things to come. Please subscribe to this channel, pass it on to your friends. We have some graphs that show this all in a little bit more of a trending in our newsletter. If you don't get our newsletter, please let us know and we'll subscribe you to the newsletter also. Thank you very much for watching another Hollinger Team video blog.